My talk today is You Can Make a Better World. Yes, you. Here are some ways that you can help to make a better world. Number one, volunteer with a nonprofit organization such as the Unitarian Fellowship. Volunteers are the best people on earth. Find an organization that you like and spend some time with them each week or each month. I volunteered with the Texas Coalition to Abolish the Death Penalty, who have been working for many years to abolish the death penalty, which we consider to be barbaric and uncivilized. I also am active with Amnesty International. They work worldwide to reduce torture, kidnappings, and things like that by terrorists in other nations. And also I've been active with the West Houston Democrats and was president with them for 4 years, and I'm still active with that organization. Number two, donate to and become a member of local or national organizations. They all need funds to do and expand their work. You can send checks or make monthly donations with your credit card. You can attend meetings and make new friendships while working for a good cause. It's always a lot of fun to work with friends while you're working for a good cause. You're making new friendships and having lots of fun and a good time together. Number three, recycle your plastics, metals, newspapers, and glass. Why throw something away that can be recycled and used again in a new form? Pick up flattened aluminum cans from parking lots and public streets. When I go for groceries to H-E-B or Kroger, I'll often see flattened Coca-Cola cans or beer cans on the pavement, and I'll pick them up and put them in my car and bring them back and put them in my recycling bin. Number four, write letters to the editor and to elected officials on issues that matter to you. Let them know how you feel about legislation, pro or con. You can make a difference. I recently had a letter published in the Chronicle about the so-called Ike Dike, which will take $26 billion to build to protect industries along our ship channel in case a hurricane makes a surge up there. For one thing, it's never happened before. Secondly, I think the industries along the ship channel should provide their own defenses. And thirdly, I think this may never happen. And thirdly, I think the money may be much better spent for education. Education is the key to prosperity for individuals and nations, and the government can help encourage more education in our community colleges and public colleges. Number five, advocate against going to war or using our military to attack perceived enemies. Negotiate all issues until they are resolved. Be willing to compromise. No more war should be our mantra. Most historians feel like the Vietnam War, the war in Afghanistan, and the war in Iraq were totally unnecessary and should not have happened. They also cost us a lot of money and kill a lot of innocent people. We also have like 800 military bases around the world, and our country spends more money than the next 8 nations combined on our defenses. I urge us to bring home at least half of those troops from around the world, and we can always react to a war if a war breaks out by flying our troops over there. And number six, volunteer at a nearby school by reading to students or helping individual students with difficult subjects like math or science. I did this several times by reading to a class of third graders at Askew Elementary, and worked with individual students at 2 other elementary schools. You get a great deal of joy out of working with students and seeing them learn how to read and learn how to understand various words, and just helping them succeed with their studies. It's good for both you and the student. Number seven, burn fewer fossil fuels that add to global warming by driving your car less. Plan your trips to drive the least distance to various stops. Ride a bicycle when you can. Other people are buying hybrid cars like Priuses or Teslas, which are 100% electric. The world is moving to electric cars, and our goal now is to really reduce global warming by reducing or cutting off fossil fuels altogether. I hope everybody helps out with this. It's great seeing you today. Look forward to seeing you all at the fellowship next Sunday.
Thanks, Jimmy, for the good advice. And good morning, everyone. I want to talk about climate change in some detail and the transition away from burning fossil fuels for power. This transition will be a slow process, and we must avoid mistakes from our politicized, propagandized information environment. Climate change is natural, cyclic, and not all bad. Benefits of climate change: greening of the earth. NASA satellites have documented a significant greening of the earth from the increase in atmospheric carbon dioxide, even in areas with decreased rainfall. The Sahel, on the southern border of the Sahara Desert, is encroaching on the Sahara. African farmers are moving in and planting successful crops. The Sahara was a grassland with lakes, rivers, fish, crocodiles, and a large human population from about 4,500 to 8,000 years ago. Some climatologists are predicting this may be happening again. Corn crops in North Dakota are now successful in former wheat country. Climate change is increasing the habitability of large areas of the Northern Hemisphere. For decades, the US population has been migrating to the sunny South. In the future decades, the sunny South will be migrating north towards the rest of the population. Global GDP projections. A model that combines climatic and economic models predicts climate change will actually provide a net improvement in the global GDP for the next 50 years. This is followed by a slow decline of only 4% by the year 2100 if nothing is done. Some geographical areas will see significant gains, others significant costs, and all will see some effect. This analysis is strictly financial. It doesn't include the extinction of charismatic, vulnerable species of plants and animals, social costs of population displacements, and things like that. Extending the interglacial. A cold climate is normal for Earth, with about 90,000 years of glaciers interrupted by a 10,000-year interglacial period before the next 100,000-year cycle begins again. It has been proposed that our elevated atmospheric carbon dioxide will extend our current interglacial periods. For a comprehensive perspective about climate change, I like the essay, How to Worry About Climate Change by Oren Cass. Page 2. Renewable energy, the transition away from fossil fuels, renewable energy. Commercial renewable energy sources include wind, water, solar, hydroelectric, and geothermal. Intermittent wind and solar electric power are limited to about 20% of incorporation into the electric power grid without storage, and to about 50% with storage. The grid still requires full capacity baseline power to produce electricity when the sun don't shine and the wind don't blow, even with storage. Hydroelectric and geothermal electric power production are currently limited to geographical areas where they are practical. Natural gas. Burning natural gas produces 50 to 60% less carbon dioxide than coal. It is abundant, accessible, cheap, and clean. It's also a very powerful greenhouse gas, so leaks in the system must be prevented. As baseline electric power, full capacity from natural gas would still be required, but combined with renewables and storage, the normal daily runtime of baseline power plants is much reduced. For example, if 50% of power is from renewables with storage, and the rest is from combined cycle natural gas, carbon dioxide emissions would be reduced more than 80% compared to coal-fired electricity production. Advanced nuclear fission. An advanced fail-safe reactor was built and operated critical for about 15,000 hours at Oak Ridge, Tennessee in the 1960s. This project was canceled in 1973 for political reasons. The technology has recently been resurrected by a few private, very dedicated advocates, and it's now alive and well globally. It shuts down automatically and passively without external intervention in case of overheating. Small modular units manufactured remotely and shipped to location could dramatically reduce costs, siting, and the need for a grid. Nuclear fusion update. Nuclear fusion uses the same reaction as the sun to fuse hydrogen atoms into helium with the release of prodigious amounts of energy. It's been demonstrated in the lab for short pulses, but requires more power for ignition than the energy it generates. Break-even reactors that produce excess power are the next step. Several are in various stages of development. Some are privately funded by individuals or corporations. Construction of the International Thermonuclear Experimental Reactor, the ITER, was started in 2013 and is expected to be completed for initial testing by 2025, with fusion testing actually planned by 2035. With a projected price tag of $22 billion, it is billed as the largest, most complex machine ever built on the planet. Page 3. The grid. The grid limits the amount of intermittent renewables, even with storage. Additional problems include vulnerability to solar megaflares and cyber attacks. The best strategy going forward is to harden the grid, patch it up, and continue to keep it going as long as necessary to make the transition to all nuclear power plants that don't require it. For more information about fossil fuel alternatives, I really like the TED Talks by Michael Schellenberger. Why renewables can't save the planet, and why I changed my mind about nuclear power. The problem of entrenched beliefs that impede progress is addressed by a TED Talk by Philip Fernbach. Why do we believe things that aren't true? To conclude, a consensus is building that we have the time, technology, and resources to make an orderly transition from fossil fuels to nuclear power for all future needs. Why have wind, storage, solar, a vulnerable grid, and a combination of centrally located baseline natural gas and/or nuclear power plants when advanced, modular, fail-safe nuclear plants would make the rest unnecessary? It has been said, the Americans always do the right thing after they've tried everything else. We have the time, technology, and resources to do this right, but we have to do it right this time because we can't afford to try everything.
Let me begin by sharing 3 of my favorite quotes from Barack Obama. Change will not come if we wait for some other person or some other time. We are the ones we've been waiting for. We are the change that we seek. From Harriet Tubman. Every great dream begins with a dreamer. Always remember, you have within you the strength, the patience, and the passion to reach for the stars to change the world. From Denzel Washington. At the end of the day, it's not about what you have or even about what you've accomplished. It's about what you've done. It's about what you've done with those accomplishments. It's about who you've lifted up, who you've made better. It's about what you've given back. Why do we feel compelled to help others? Very likely, We are hardwired this way, a genetic behavioral response that proved advantageous for the surviving, even thriving, of the family, clan, tribe. And it feels good, likely also hardwired. Reaching out, helping others, giving back was just how we were raised. My parents, grandparents, our extended family responded to people in need, whether family, neighbors, church members, classmates. And it was an integral part of our education in Madison, Wisconsin. Emerson Elementary School, University of Wisconsin-Madison Laboratory School, St. Luke's Lutheran Church, Cub Scouts, sports teams. I was truly blessed. I was the firstborn and only child for 3.5 years to young, blue-collar, working-class parents. Mom and Dad left Lockheed Aircraft in Los Angeles towards the final year of World War II, as my birth approached, to return to Madison, Wisconsin, buy a farm, and build a new life. Mother was just 20, Dad was 21. For the first 5 years of my life, my mother focused so much of her attention on me, teaching me to read, write, sing, dance, play the piano, improvise, read music, work with charcoals, clay, wood carving tools, basic arithmetic, basic mathematical concepts, swimming, diving, canoeing, and the like. I must say, she did not have the time to do that with my brother and sister. From my first day of kindergarten through advanced college graduate studies, I was blessed with incredible, inspiring academic teachers, mentors, tutors, almost all of whom were Holocaust survivors. For many of them, I, in many ways, became the son they never had, or much more often, the one they lost to the Nazi gas chambers. Likewise, I was blessed in my musical studies with Holocaust surviving teachers, mentors. One, the head of the Paris Conservatory piano department. Another, the first cellist of the Berlin Philharmonic. Conducting teachers who studied with Wilhelm Furtwängler and Herbert von Karajan. Composition teachers who studied with Paul Hindemith, Bela Bartok, Igor Stravinsky, Arnold Schoenberg. I was blessed from the get-go by the patronage of my musical studies by the American Lutheran Music Association, the University of Wisconsin, the American Conservatory, and the Chicago Symphony. Lastly, the early childhood talent development pedagogue, Shinichi Suzuki, whose paradigm-changing approach to learning was inspired by his determination to make a better life for the children of Japan who survived the U.S. bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, August 1945. So, as but one person, what can I do to make a sustainable, long-lasting difference in the world? I can pay forward my deepest eternal gratitude for the many, many blessings of my mother and father, grandparents, family, friends, teachers, mentors, tutors, and patrons. I can share deep, soul-enriching beauty through musical performance. I can teach music, math, sciences, creative and critical thinking, pre-K through college level, which is precisely what I've done from my mid-20s until I retired. And to reach those students who are unable to enroll in orchestra, band, or choir, most often for financial reasons, I've been teaching a section of general music or something equivalent whenever possible. And since retiring, I've added working with community college developmental study students not yet ready for college level reading, writing, or math, and are not self-disciplined enough yet to succeed. I leave you with two thoughts. One expressed in prose, the other in music. From the American engineer, architect, and futurist, Richard Buckminster Fuller. Never forget that you are one of a kind. Never forget that if there weren't any need for you and all of your uniqueness to be on this earth, you wouldn't be here in the first place. And never forget, no matter how overwhelming life's challenges and problems seem to be, that one person can make a difference in the world. In fact, it is always because of one person that all the changes that matter in the world come about. So, be that one person.